Welcome back to Brush and Pencil. Today we're going to use holographic paints. These paints are by Dreamland Watercolors and are the Botany collection. These are pretty cute and really versatile little paints, and you're going to have a quick little review / tutorial on how to use these guys today. The first thing that I noticed about them is that they need more time to activate. So you would typically spray or drop a little bit of water on top of watercolor paints to kind of dissolve that top layer. And with most watercolor paints, that happens really fast. These need a little bit of time for that drop of water to sit to activate that top layer of paint. Now, this first beautiful kind of gold to green holographic transition is the lightest color, I would say, out of this set. Super decadent. It activates really nicely. But the thing about holographic paint is that it's not made the same way traditional watercolors are, in the sense that you have a pigment that's kind of in a solution that gets dried to be reactivated. You can think of holographic paint as closer to really, really fine glitter. And so it's got more of a texture to it. That does mean that it will sit a little differently on your paper. It's not going to absorb into your paper the way your paint pigment will with a traditional watercolor. Now it's going on so beautifully smooth on this paper, which should be noted is not watercolor paper. I chose my black sketchbook for this because black paper showcases these colors to their finest for sure. You can use them on traditional white watercolor paper, but they are not going to show up as vibrantly when you use them that way. Most of the work that I'm experimenting that I've done with these has been by mixing them into my existing watercolor paints or using them as a wash layer on top of a painting. Now you can see here when I go over these leaves that it looks really different on the white gel pen than it does on the paper. You see a lot of brown actually when you look at it on white. Now as you move that paper, super reflective, super pretty. And this with this next color too, which is a purple to pink called Iris. All the colors in the Botany set are named after flowers. Iris is a blue, purple to pink transition, but there is like a transitional color between all of these, where when you shift it in one light, you get color A, you shift it to the other, you get color B, but there's this in-between middle that shows up on light tones in particular, where you have this sort of tan, beige, neutral color where the light isn't reflecting either one of the primaries. It's just got this middle ground thing going on. I did run into some difficulty of no fault of the paints while making this because I tend to move my paper around a lot. I believe the painting should be convenient for you. You shouldn't have to contort yourself to paint or draw your piece of art. But as I strived to keep this notebook underneath my camera, I did notice that the way the light, which is situated to the left of my notebook, hits the pigment makes it seem like some areas are carrying no pigment while I'm brushing them, but of course when I move my paper, they show up really vibrantly and beautifully. I love this copper color. This color is Torch Lily, which is a beautiful copper to gold transition. Now it will be on dark paper that sometimes the darker color in the holographic mix will show up better. It's definitely true with these asters here. That copper is shining really brilliantly, and then that softer yellow tone is really subtle. It doesn't show up quite as much as some of the other transitionary colors. there are 3 primary green, meaning colors that start off as green as their primary holographic kind of tone in this set. They're called Wizard Rose, which is what I'm using here, and then one called Chinese Evergreen and Hosta. The Hostas and the Chinese Evergreen are both lighter than this Wizard Rose and transition to orange and a yellow, respectively. Whereas this Wizard Rose has a beautiful kind of purpley blue tone that it'll shift to. Now you will see as I paint these leaves that I get some white smudging happening right there. Yeah, you can see it really well there. This is gel pen in this sketchbook, which is not waterproof. A lot of my art is produced by random inspiration, so that's really what happened here. If I had planned to paint these with my holographic paints to begin with, I would have not used the particular white pen that I did. But overall, aside from these leaves, the pigment did hold up really, really well, so it wasn't really too big of an issue. This color is the Dahlia, which is a super cool pink to orange tone, also one of my favorites in this set. I will put a link in the description to the Dreamland Watercolor website. They have a lovely selection of different sets, and the set came with watercolor samples. I love it when paint companies add samples to an order. Nothing guarantees I'm going to order more paint immediately, to be honest, because I'm such a sucker for it. Now, I do use these paints, as I mentioned in the beginning, in my regular watercolor. This is a little painting of a Luna moth where I've put stripes of my Hosta green onto it. And I'm going to show you in real time what this stuff looks like when layered over a dry layer of watercolor. Now, I do sometimes also mix these holographic pigments directly into whatever watercolor mix I'm using in a painting, and that also works really well, but I do feel like they're used to their best advantage when they are sitting on top, that top layer of whatever it is your art piece is going to be. This particular one is a dragon egg from online classes that I teach with my students. I teach high school art with True North Academy. I'm mixing up a pretty strong mix of this torch lily, which I think will go really well with the golds and reds and autumny colors on this dragon egg. Something you'll notice as I make my way around to the highlight on the top right side of this egg is that you get more of that transitionary dull color. It almost looks a little gray in this light. Now, when I move this around after I'm done painting this layer on, you're going to get all that lovely holographic effect. But when you use this on really light tones and just plain white watercolor paper, like if you were to paint flowers entirely with these holographic colors, you would have a lot of dull spots based on how you're viewing the particular art. So now here we have a relatively thin layer of holographic paint. You could definitely make it thicker. Your other colors and details will still show through that paint. As you can see, it took almost none of my color details away. I can definitely say that I recommend adding some holographic colors to your watercolor paint sets. They are so fun to play with. Thanks for visiting, and I hope to see you back soon.